Hey, what's up everybody, and happy Memorial Day. Welcome to the channel Flash 001 USA. Today's Monday, it's May 29th, the year 2023, and all I gotta say is time flies, doesn't it? Anyhow, this will be the first garden video of the year, and I'll do a follow-up as this thing takes off and progresses. So what I'm gonna do is let you guys get a quick glance at it, and we'll just look it over very quickly. I'm going to keep the video short and to the point. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Now each year that I've done this garden, I'm finding better ways to lay everything out, and this year is no exception. So what we'll do right now is just take a quick look at everything, and then I'm going to come back and explain what I did differently this year. Now for some of you that seen or keep up with the videos from the previous gardens, then you probably already figured out a lot of it just by looking at it. Now some of this was started up around 4, maybe 5 weeks ago, and then it was placed out into the garden beds. Some of it I just got out within the last couple of weeks, and other parts of it I got from the plant nursery. And we'll look at everything and I'll tell you what I did. As I had mentioned, I did make some changes from the layout from last year to this year. So any of you that have ever kept up with the videos or seen my past garden videos, you'll remember that this area right here where the corn is was partitioned off. It was partitioned off somewhere back over here, and what I had was okra and then another bed of corn, and then right up front up here where this is, where this little section is, was tomato plants, and over there was pepper plants. So I laid it out a little bit different. I think each time that I do this I'm starting to get better with it or find a better way to build the mousetrap. So the corn is actually doing quite well. Now this was put out, like I said, around 4 or 5 weeks ago. The beans, on the other hand, I just got these things put out. I got a little bit late with these. Reason being, I had a hard time getting them to start. So I wound up having to start them in starter cups and get them out here, but finally I got them going, and they're doing pretty good. Now these are bush beans right here, and this is what I prefer to grow. To me, it's simpler to keep up with. I don't have to put trellises out here or any of that stuff. Now where I grew the cucumbers last year, I'm putting okra here. The reason being, for anybody that's ever grown okra, you know when it gets hot, this stuff takes off like a wildfire, and it just keeps producing over and over and over until the first frost comes along. So you don't need a big area for it, especially if you've only got 1 or 2 people eating on it. This is my cantaloupe patch. This thing does good every year I do it. I can't complain. I got so much off of it last year that I wound up giving a lot of it to my neighbors. We just couldn't eat all of it. This year I did my potatoes different. I just did a test run last year to kind of get the feel of growing them. And this year I've done it right. I got them where they're mounded up, and I started these things literally at the bottom of the boxes and have mounded them up all the way to the height they're at now. They're already starting to flower, so I know I'm going to do pretty decently with these. Now this year I'm growing sweet potatoes. I started these from my own slits, and there's no way that I was going to be paying that kind of money for these. I think they wanted like 10, 11, 12, 15 bucks for a handful of slits. Man, you can go to Walmart and buy you some organic sweet potatoes and start your own slits for pennies to the dollar compared to what they sell them for. Now, as I did mention, I started my own sweet potato plants up from scratch rather than going to the plant nursery and purchasing them. They just wanted too much money for them. So this is what I've got right here. I'm going to give you a quick explanation of how to do this. The first thing you want to use is organic sweet potatoes. Do not use anything that's not organic, and here's why. Most of the time they put an inhibitor on the sweet potatoes to keep them from sprouting in the bags, which means good luck on getting the shoots to start up on them. There's two ways of doing it. You can do what I've done here, which is to lay a couple of potatoes inside of a container and cover them halfway up, or at least kind of like I got it right here, with a decent quality potting soil. Keep it good and moist, keep it in a dark, warm place, and then the shoots will start up on them. Then you can get your cuttings off of it. Another way that people do it is they'll figure out which is the top and bottom of the sweet potato. Yes, just like a AA battery, there is a top and a bottom to them, and they'll put toothpicks in them, and they'll drop it horizontal inside of a little mason jar, and then the shoots will grow up on it. Then people cut them off, and they get the roots to the length they want them, and they either put them in small pots or however they do it to get them ready to go out in the garden. You can put them directly out in the garden also. So I did mine like this. Pretty simple and straightforward. I do plan on putting out more sweet potatoes this year than what I've got, because these can be a meal by themselves that are so full of nutrition. And, you know, compared to regular potatoes, these things here actually have a lot more to offer as far as, you know, benefits of eating them. Some people don't know this, but a sweet potato is actually not a potato. If I'm not mistaken, it's related to, and don't hold me to this, I think the morning glory family. But people call them sweet potatoes because they come out of the ground. Anyhow, they're tanners, either way you look at it. One of my favorites, hot cayenne pepper. And I got 2 plants put out over here. They'll kick in, just like the okra, they'll kick in once the weather starts getting hot. We got our tomato plants, and these things have taken off like wildfires. Now, as far as stuff that I purchased and put out here from the nursery, yeah, that would be the hot peppers, the tomato plants, and I got some red bell peppers over here, red and green bell peppers. So everything else I pretty much started from seed. Oh, wait a minute, with the exception of the cantaloupe, I did get those from the nursery because it just speeds things up. So everything's doing good. Just wanted to give you guys a quick 1-2 punch and let you see the old garden. And there are quite a few things done differently this year. I made up a whole bunch, and I mean a whole bunch, of compost last year and this year. And that saved a lot of money right there. So I have fortified everything with compost. I'm getting away from man-made fertilizers as much as possible. I want to be able to do this without having to depend on the big box stores. So I'm trying to keep this as natural as possible. I may even cover that just a little bit, how to make compost, especially if you got an acre of land and a few trees on it, or you got access to some green lawn clippings along with dead leaves. You can make your own compost and save a load of money. But there you go. I just wanted to share this with everybody. And I will do a follow-up video on this as it progresses. But yeah, I couldn't be happier with it. It's so far so good. I did have to do one thing. I caught some little nasties out here trying to dig into the garden. So I've got the electric fence up, and I wound up putting some mesh down here at the bottom. So when they go to try to come in here, they're going to wind up touching that wire one way or another, and that'll break them of the habit very quickly of trying to root around in this stuff. I don't normally have a problem with any kind of pest out here. I do have some beans, or 1 or 2 plants that have got chewed on. They're not getting chewed on now, so I'll probably come out here and put something on this along with the other plants to protect them. Different times of the year you'll have different insects that'll get in here, and it just depends what you're harvesting, when you're harvesting, how much you need to treat it, because I try to stay away from putting anything on it if I can absolutely help it. Anyhow, we'll go ahead and take a pause here. I think I may walk back to where the compost is and just give you a quick explanation on that. So take a standby. Okay, this is some of the compost that I've made so far this year. Right now, I've used the equivalents of what I've made of being around 2 of these containers right here, which is already up into the garden. This stuff is pretty simple and straightforward to make, no rocket science involved, and I'm going to give you a quick explanation of how to do this if you want to try your hand at it. There's another big benefit with making it on your own too. You go buy 5 or 10 bags of this stuff or more, and it starts getting expensive. Not only that, you don't know where the material came from that they used to make the compost with. It could have came out of a field that they had sprayed with pesticides. So when you make it yourself, you know what you got, you know what you're dealing with your materials. I'm going to show you something here. Stuff came out great. It's good and earthy. It's got a good earthy scent to it. And I'm amazed that I didn't grab earthworms when I did that, because when I put it out in the garden, it's loaded full of earthworms. And I don't think I need to even explain to you how well that helps with the garden. Okay, to make this stuff, it's simple and straightforward. As mentioned, there's no rocket science. It's got to be a 50% mixture of carbon, a 50% mixture of nitrogen. And you're thinking, okay, well, what do you mean? Okay, your nitrogen comes from your green foliage, stuff like this. Boy, look at all that poke salad I got growing around here. But anything that's green, that's freshly cut and mulched, that would be your nitrogen. And then stuff that's been on the ground that sat over the season and turned brown. A good example of that would be, grab a handful of these. Brown dead leaves, any kind of rotted wood that can easily be crumbled, cardboard, let me think, apple cores, banana peelings, any kind of organic whatever. But do not use any kind of meats or anything like that. So basically you're going to have a 50-50 mixture of each one. The 50-50 of the green fresh stuff that's cut up, and the other half of it will be brown dead stuff that's been allowed to sit on the ground and lose its color with chlorophyll. In other words, just dead leaves or whatever you can get your hands on that falls in that category. Now for mine, I got a small push mower. I go out to my trails through my woods and I harvest the leaves that have been on the ground out there. I can put my side bag on it, and I have a benefit of using a push mower, as when I'm vacuuming this stuff up, it's being mulched by the blades. That's a big plus. Then I bring that, I make me a pile with it inside of my wheelbarrow. I go back out with the lawnmower and I cut fresh green grass, because some parts of the yard grow faster, like back around here, and other places in this yard will grow twice as fast as the main part of the yard out here. So I have to do odd cuts out here sometimes. But I'll cut the fresh green stuff, I drop it inside of the wheelbarrow. I actually mix it in the wheelbarrow, and most of the time I won't saturate it with water, but I will add water to it, get it good and wet. And when I made my piles originally, I done them on the ground. I didn't do them in these barrels. So I meant to mention that. What happens is you give them about 3 or 4 days, 5 days and whatnot, they will start to break down. You'll start having the funguses among us that get in there. The fungus will get in there and start to break it down, and they will get hot as fire. You can stick your hand in one, and if it's running correctly, you just about can't keep your hand in there for any length of time. You have to get out here and flip them. You have to get out here and mix them up. So you let them run for a couple of days, get good and hot, and you can find this information on YouTube. There's people that break it down with thermometers and all that. Really, guys, you don't need to get all scientific with it. As mentioned, there is no science or rocket science to this. It's just knowing the steps to do, okay? But you mix it, let it get hot, you flip it with your pitchfork. You'll do this a couple, 2, 3, 4 times over a period of a couple of weeks or whatnot, and eventually it gets where it runs cool. And once it's done its process, it'll always continually be breaking down. And it's hard to believe that this was green lawn clippings and dead leaves. Now it looks like something that you'd pay a lot of money for, because you would if you go buy it. You go buy the stuff from a plant nursery, even if you go buy a truckload of it, you're going to be dishing out some bucks. And even if you're not like me and fortunate and have a bunch of woods around you, you can get lawn clippings even just from a half-acre yard and do more than what I've done here. As far as brown dead leaves or any of that goes, you can land your hands on them. People are always setting stuff to the side of the road, and you can always go get them from them. If you have to put them in bags and bag them up, or do whatever you got to do, grab them, save yourself a lot of money. So that's my little explanation on how to make this stuff here, right? So you can make it on your own, save yourself a lot of money, and know what you have. Plus, The most important thing is to be self-sufficient. I want to get away from using store-bought fertilizers, and this was a major big step in that direction. Hopefully this helps you. So on that note, we'll go ahead and shut the camera off, and now we got the job of mixing this little old video down. You guys have a good Memorial Day. Fire up those grills and get it done. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What? What are you still doing here? This is Memorial Day weekend. Go get them grills, fire them up, get busy celebrating. Flash 001 USA. We are signing off.